Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. And boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. And if you didn't know what yesterday was, then you definitely found a way to lose, especially if you consider yourself a diehard boxing fan or you're on here talking about boxing in any capacity, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. If you didn't take time out to talk about this individual yesterday, man, then to me, you found a way to lose. Laila Ali was born January 17, 1942. And let me tell you something, man. His birthday, like we were talking yesterday on the live, is a global remembrance across all 7 continents. Laila Ali is respected, is loved. You know, it's amazing when you think about the power that we as people have. We can change a lot of things because we all, in some shape or form, have the ability to influence things. And that can either be good or it can be bad. But like, what's it called? Like Black Sheep used to say, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that. I think you'll get with this because this is where it's at. And Muhammad Ali was a guy who chose to change sports, politics, race relations, religion, and how it is to be a celebrity forever. And no matter what any athlete says, male or female, no one out here before or after Muhammad Ali reached the level of worldwide love. Understand what I said? I'm not talking about worldwide recognition. We're talking about worldwide love. I personally don't think anybody should be out here talking about Muhammad Ali is number 1, I'm number 2. That's male or female. Or Muhammad Ali, I'm better than him as what he did outside of boxing. I'll give him that, but when it comes to boxing, then I'm not going to say he's better than me. Sometimes you got to listen a whole lot and talk very little. And sometimes you got to listen a whole lot and then just shut up. And I think when it comes to Muhammad Ali, if you're not talking positively about the man, you're not out here talking about how great he is, to me, you shouldn't be talking about him, especially if you're trying to compare yourself to him in any way, shape, or form. Muhammad Ali is one of one. That's it. Now, over here in another category, a person can start their own and say, well, you know, I'm number 1 here and this person's number 2 and 3. But with Muhammad Ali, there's no 1, then a number 2. It's impossible. Doesn't exist. And that's my opinion. No male, no female. No matter what sport. It's not happening. How many athletes, and be honest and be fair, have transcended their sport, and in particular with boxing, has been able to transcend it and became a moral symbol? Now, there's only one person I think about, and we talked about this on the live yesterday. And I'm not saying, of course, there's only one Muhammad Ali. But I was thinking, and the only name that I could come up with who seems to be someone who's pretty, you know, altruistic, selfless, and really there's a dynamic, a spiritual dynamic that encompasses this individual is Manny Pacquiao. But still, for someone to transcend the sport of boxing and become a moral symbol, there's only one, it's Muhammad Ali. And you know why there's probably never going to be another is because the times are different. The eras are different. What Muhammad Ali went through, 60s, 70s, I don't need to sit here and try to give no one a history lesson. But his challenges were more difficult than the challenges that fighters face today and human beings face today. And that's why his triumphs will always be exponentially greater. You know, they say if your effort's great, your reward's great. The lesser your effort, then the lesser the reward. With Muhammad Ali, his efforts were so great with all the stuff he was dealing with. That's why when people talk about Muhammad Ali across all 7 continents, there's the respect. From Harlem to Africa to Asia to Europe, simple. His name still moves crowds like Eric B. and Rakim decades after retirement and death. And it will continue to do that. It'll never change. Muhammad Ali, his name is etched in the hearts of almost everyone across all 7 of those continents. Now, you got to talk about Muhammad Ali and his in-ring accomplishments, the greatest boxer ever. The Olympic glory. Bit of a challenging time. Won gold medal at 18 years old in the 1960 Rome Olympics. Carried the American flag. Unfortunately, later rejected by America. Became the symbol of betrayal and redemption. Got through a lot of the BS. Ended up becoming a 3-time heavyweight champion. I'm trying to think who else has become a 3-time heavyweight champion. I don't know. No. Holyfield, Lewis, Tyson. I don't know off the top of my head, but the bottom line is I know Muhammad Ali's become a 3-time. He had become a 3-time heavyweight champion, and the only heavyweight champion in the history to win lineal title 3 times. The bottom line is Muhammad Ali defeated multiple champions across generations. And based on the research I've done, right, it seems he beat more champions than any heavyweight ever. But there's a lot of research I was doing. I was trying to look. I couldn't confirm that, but it looks like that's the case. Muhammad Ali beat more champions than any heavyweight ever. Sonny Liston, they scrapped twice. Floyd Patterson, Joe Frazier, they fought 3 times. George Foreman, Ken Norton, Spinks. And of course, with the Joe Frazier fights, he took a loss there. But what I'm getting at is no heavyweight has his resume. Muhammad Ali's resume is crazy. Back then, they all fought each other. There was no talking and hyping nothing up. No, if you call me out, we're going to fight. And that's how they were, cut from a different cloth. And there are some heavyweights, today who they're willing to fight anyone, but everything is about the money, about the politics, about the timing. Not back then, that era. Muhammad Ali and those guys, they were just out there scrapping. They were getting paid, but they were out there scrapping. And that's why Muhammad Ali, man, in addition to that and everything else, he was able to revolutionize boxing, not only with his, kind of rhyming style, but because of him being able to, like he said, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Heavyweights were supposed to be slow, supposed to be strong. With Muhammad Ali, he was fast, graceful, defensive, strategic. And I tell you what, his saying, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, became immortal philosophy, created modern boxing footwork and head movement. And you can see a lot of the slick heavyweights today try to copy Ali. First one who comes to mind when I see him, and everyone knows the Ali shuffle and all that craziness. But there were, for a while, people were talking about Tyson Fury and saying, hey, the way he fights, the way he moves for a big man is kind of, reminiscent of Muhammad Ali. But I'll say this. Doesn't matter what anyone says, it's a compliment. That's just paying homage to Muhammad Ali and how great he was when people look and see someone doing the ring great and be like, man, that looks like something Muhammad Ali would have done or that he's done. So that's more of a compliment. Now, the Liston shock, okay? The birth of a legend. I believe he was 21, 22 years old. Ali shocked the world when he faced off against Sonny Liston. Liston was very intimidating. Many people considered him invincible. And then what was so unique about that whole fight is Ali predicted the round, which was unheard of. And that whole fight changed how fighters marketed themselves forever. And this was the birth of the modern sports superstar. And you can see a lot of fighters today, I'm not saying they're intentionally trying to emulate the way Muhammad Ali went about, promoting that fight and how he went about performing in the fight and how he carried on post-fight. But what I'm saying is, this fight in particular was the birth of a modern superstar. Now, as far as him and Joe Frazier, most people, if you don't follow boxing, and I'm not a boxing historian, so when people ask me some crap, I don't know, man. But I'll say this: I think everybody knows Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. I think everybody knows. It wasn't Muhammad Ali, didn't he fight somebody? They're either going to say George Foreman or they're going to say Joe Frazier. Those are the two names. You know what I'm saying? They had Fight of the Century in 1971, they had a Thriller in Manila in 1975, and they had a third fight. But those fights were brutal, legendary, historic. This is back in the time when cats were going 15 rounds. 15 rounds, man. And not in that coochie coo and tickling and chicken pecking each other. 15 rounds, man, of violence. But what happened is both of those guys were able to elevate each other into legendary status. And Ali showed heart beyond human limits, something that a lot of these fighters today, they don't show. One person in particular who showed some heart that blew my mind was Deontay Wilder when he fought Tyson Fury in that third fight. Deontay Wilder showed me something that I was like, damn, because I wanted him to just stop. That man said, nope, I ain't gonna quit. And you can say what you want about Deontay Wilder, you got to give him respect for that. He did not quit. You know what I'm saying? Then the Rumble in the Jungle, that was probably sports' greatest upset. Some people talk about Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson, but really, you got to really take a look at the Rumble in the Jungle where he faced George Foreman in Africa. You can watch that fight and you can see. Going into the fight anyway, Foreman was destroying everyone. People were like, oh, he's going to kill Muhammad Ali. They got inside the ring, Foreman, coming at him. Muhammad Ali knew that was going to happen. And he used the rope-a-dope strategy. You know what I mean? Tired Foreman out, ended up knocking him out in the 8th round. And this fight in particular made Ali a global myth. To this day, people, when they talk about Muhammad Ali, they talk about that Rumble in the Jungle. And they talk about how the amount of damage that he took, what he had to sustain to eventually tire out George Foreman and then come and get the knockout. A lot of people felt, the Joe Frazier, all of his fights, because he was a guy who would get hit, but he would hit back and win. But they feel like that fight took a lot out of him. The Joe Frazier fights too, but they felt like that it took a lot out of him. But nonetheless, there were still people out there who wanted Muhammad Ali to do certain things that he didn't want to do. He ended up sacrificing his prime for principle. And sometimes you got to do that. You got to stand and say, well, no, this is what I believe in, and I'm not deviating. Even with everyone around you is attacking you, trying to break you down, trying to say you should do this, you should do that. They want to insult you, call you names, whatever. If you believe in something, man, hold your ground. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're doing something and you realize, man, this ain't right. This ain't right. It doesn't matter what you were saying before, how you were acting before. Once you recognize, this ain't right. You got to hold your ground and, maybe sacrifice a few things for principle. And he did that. He refused the Vietnam War draft, lost his heavyweight title, banned from boxing for 3.5 years, lost millions of dollars, lost a lot of supporters. But he chose conscience over career. And I think that's very important. Sometimes, man, you can look at the success you're having, but then you got to have a conscience. At some point, people got to stop and look at what they're doing, how they're doing it, what's expected of them, and say, you know what? I understand that things are going good with whatever I'm doing, but I've got a conscience. And you got to choose your conscience over the immediate success, over your career sometimes, over the things that people feel you should be doing. And that's one of the things that makes people a leader, is going against the grain. Even if you were part of the energy, you were part of the chaos, doesn't matter. Sometimes you got to stop and just say, you know what? I understand what's going on here, but I'm going to go against the grain because I have a conscience. And Muhammad Ali, just with a lot of things with his life, you could see that once he developed that conscience about certain things, and he opened up to the whole world, and that in religion, and the religion, how that played a role in his life. He definitely chose conscience over the career for that, and he ended up standing on his faith, standing on his identity. And that's just something that I think everybody has an opportunity to make those changes. And you just take a look at Muhammad Ali. Changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. Didn't want the slave name, took worldwide ridicule and stood firm. And sometimes, you don't want to have be labeled as a certain personality. You don't want to have a certain name, a certain title. And you got to refuse it. And sometimes when you refuse certain things, you take ridicule. But it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to stand firm and hold your ground. But what I'll tell you is, when you do stuff like that, what you end up doing is you normalize things. And for Muhammad Ali, he normalized athlete activism. And for that, I have a whole lot of respect for him. You know what I'm saying? Now, outside the ring, he was a moral giant. There's no comparison. Civil rights symbol. Nobody could ever come out like this. No one could come out here and recreate what he did, because the times are different. Anti-war hero, global humanitarian, visited refugee camps, negotiated hostage releases, man. Spoke at universities and world summits. He became a symbol of courage. Something a lot of people out here don't have, man. They want to go with the flow, go with the grain. They don't want to face ridicule because it's power in numbers. But sometimes that shit can be negative, and it can tear down the fabric of what you're doing and other people are doing. And once you recognize that you're contributing to the chaos, you got to self-reflect and make an adjustment. If not, choice is yours, but deal with the consequences. Let me tell you something. If Muhammad Ali would have never chosen to put his conscience over his career and make some of the decisions he made, he wouldn't have been able to be the only person out here with a Walk of Fame star that's on the wall and not on the ground. Every star is on the ground except Ali's. Ali refused to have his name walked on. Hollywood honored his spiritual belief. This proves how sacred his name is globally. And I'm not making that up. So, when he was a professional boxer, was he loved? Yeah. But he became more loved after he retired. He became more loved after he retired. Of course, it's no secret. He had Parkinson. I think that softened public perception. It's only natural. The world saw his humility and dignity. And lighting the Olympic torch in 1996 moved the world to tears. So he became a symbol of human perseverance. And you know what I'll tell you? Sometimes, man, when you see certain things, you may have a conversation with somebody, but when you're able to see certain things in people, that can soften your perception of them. And for Ali, I think the Parkinson is something where people saw, and it softened the public perception. Then you really start listening and watching how a person's moving. And I think for that, the world saw his humility and dignity. And then just to see him up there lighting that damn torch in 1996, that was a pretty emotional moment. So anyone who wants to compare themselves to Muhammad Ali, they need to stop. Stop. He's a one of one. They broke the mold. And nobody should be comparing themselves to Muhammad Ali. They can say they want to be as great as him, but there should be no comparison. You start your own category over here, and y'all could be the number one through gazillion. But when it comes to Muhammad Ali, there ain't no one and no number two for anyone, male or female. I just think people need to really understand, I think most do, that the Ali name is a sacred ground worldwide. Worldwide. People cry when they talk about Muhammad Ali. They cry. So Ali's respected across races, religions, nations, Few humans reach this status. His name is spoken with reverence. Ali belongs to humanity. I agree with that. And you know what's so funny is that's why when it comes to his daughter, Laila Ali, she's an extension of her father, man. All right? So if you go at Laila Ali, you go at Muhammad Ali, and that's how people are going to take it. Because she continued the legacy. No one else continued the Ali legacy. Laila Ali continued the legacy. Nobody else. She is his daughter. So after they say the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Undefeated world champion, I think it was 24 wins, 21 knockouts. Dominated women's boxing, carried the Ali name with dignity, transitioned into media, into business. She just across the board, man, success. Simple. She represents excellence. She represents class. And I want to make sure people understand this. So why the Ali family is held in reverence? Because Muhammad Ali is viewed as a global treasure. I like to call it the Ali currency. You know what I'm saying? His name is emotional to billions. His legacy is protected by the public. You can't talk about the Ali name in any way, shape, or form. You will suffer backlash. Any and everybody will. The man's protected by the public, man. So Ali is not just history, he's heritage. And I do think Ali changed how athletes are seen. I think before Ali, athletes were like silent workers. After Ali, athletes became cultural leaders. And he created modern athlete identity. So some people say, there are some people who still say, well, why do people still mourn him today? Like why they, he's passed away, may he rest in peace, but why do people still get so emotional over him? I'll just say this, right? Few people are mourned worldwide decades later. Ali is still discussed today, and he will always be discussed. His speeches still circulate. His fights will still be studied. So the bottom line is attitude. Attitude. That's what it's about. Legends fade. Ali doesn't. So at the end of the day, the final truth, Ali is not just the greatest boxer. He's the greatest sports figure ever. Simple. That's how most of us see it. His influence exceeds boxing. It exceeds politics. It exceeds race. It exceeds religion. And that's why Muhammad Ali is a world monument. And anyone who wants to come out here and disrespect the Ali last name, they're going to suffer backlash. I would, you would, and anyone out here who's currently doing it, they suffer the backlash. And it ain't going to change. Your happy birthday to a legend, man. May he rest in peace. Yo, I'm in the breeze.